Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night Light Sports Ramble. This is always one of my favorite episodes because I get to co-host it with Evan Watallison, and we just love to chat. 30 minutes of pure sports, mostly football, actually all football tonight. So since we do ramble a lot, we're going to get right into it. So, Evan, I'm going to turn it over to you. As always, I'm going to get your take on Sunday's Lions-Packer game. I know the Packers came out victorious. And you and I discussed that a little bit earlier. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can give the recap, and then we'll just dig into some of the intrinsic stuff that happened on Sunday.
Okay, well, as we all know, the Packers ended up winning 22-9. I would have liked to see some more touchdowns, but they just had the one 83-yarder to James Jones. But, a win's a win. Crosby was good. Eddie Lake looked good. Nick Perry and Mike Neal looked good rushing the passer, especially when Clay Matthews went out, which could be a huge blow. But if those two can step it up while he's gone, it should help tremendously. And, defense held Reggie Bush in check, and that's one of the keys that you and I talked about last week, that if they can hold Reggie Bush in check, they should be able to win the game. And it definitely helped when just hours before kickoff time, Calvin Johnson got announced that he was going to miss the game with his knee. It wasn't the prettiest of games in the world. You'd rather see touchdowns than 5 for 5 on field goals. But, these are tough, tight matchups that if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to win. They're not going to be able to, do what they did to Washington every week. They're going to have to win those tight ones. And, we have a tough matchup coming up with Baltimore this week, and then Minnesota, Chicago down the road. This win, hopefully, is going to help them get ready for those matchups. So, like I said, it wasn't the prettiest of wins. You and I were talking beforehand that it wasn't really ugly of a win, but it wasn't the prettiest of wins. But a win's a win, and now it's time to get ready for Baltimore and hopefully continue our success.
Well, I think the one thing I think, Evan, is that going to Baltimore is just like playing in the NFC North. I think Baltimore has the same type of mentality that NFC North has, and I totally agree with you. We know that in divisional play, and when we're in our division, these are the type of games that they turn out to be. I mean, it comes out to we're just going to try and do what we do, but it could be ugly at times. But at the end of the day, we've got to come out on top, and we found a way to do it Sunday. Literally, when I was watching, like I said, it wasn't ugly, but it wasn't pretty. I mean, we moved the ball very well inside the 20s, I thought. And then we just got to the red zone and couldn't punch it in. What do you think happens? I mean, we have traditionally been a very good red zone team, especially Rodgers. So what's happening this year? What do you think is up with that?
It's hard to put a finger on it. Like in Sunday, they're 0 for 2 in the red zone. Well, they made 2 field goals and 2 tries. But it's hard to say. The receivers are struggling to get open in the red zone. It doesn't look like they're totally, trusting the running game yet when they get inside the 5. They drafted Eddie Lacy for a reason. Let him do his thing. And I don't know if it's play calling. I don't know if it's what it is, but we just don't have the rhythm we used to have. I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot, because I saw somebody tweet on Twitter after the game mentioning Boykins not being much of a weapon. Think of years past, they had, 6 weapons that Rodgers could go to at any given time, anywhere on the field. And, someone like Driver and Jennings were quite dangerous in the red zone with the way they ran their routes. And it just, the defense couldn't really focus on 1 or 2 guys. And right now, like red zone time, they really just got to focus on Nelson, who's a bigger guy, in Finley. Jones is, a good receiver from the 20 to the 20, but he doesn't strike me as a huge red zone numbers guy. And, Randall Cobb doesn't strike me as a huge red zone guy. So I don't know if it's personnel, play calling, or what it is, but if they want to compete with the New Orleans Saints of the world, they're going to have to, find ways to score touchdowns in the red zones.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, the old adage is you can't win kicking field goals. And
No.
you bring up a really good point. The personnel you just mentioned, you look at when Randall Cobb is his best. He's best in space, right?
Yeah.
And so when we get inside the 20, there's not a lot of space. And
No, there's not.
I agree with you 100%. Why are we not trying to do something, maybe trap, maybe do something to get Lacey going forward? Because he's a big, powerful back, and I haven't really seen us utilize that much inside the red zone. I mean,
No, I think the San Francisco game was the only time we did it. He scored a touchdown.
Exactly. And so what I was thinking with the red zone is, it seemed like we were trying to up-tempo a little bit inside the 20s, a little bit of no huddle, a little bit of, getting out of the huddle faster, up-tempo inside the 20. And then when we get inside the 20, it seems like we huddle up, take our time. And so it's almost like they don't have any confidence right now.
No. And I think part of it with Rodgers is confidence because, people have been asking McCarthy all week about the play calling, especially on like 3rd and 1, which kind of goes along with, the red zone. Why don't you use Lacey? Because one of the times, Rodgers actually chewed Lacey off the field when they're going to change personnel packages shortly after Randall Cobb had that 67-yard run. There's 3rd and 1 after a couple plays, and Lacey started to come on the field, and Rodgers, said no. And, McCarthy stopped short of throwing Rodgers under the bus, but he kind of, kind of said that it was Rodgers, because he said that, it's not always, you always blame the play caller, but then he had said that, Rodgers has the right to, especially those 3rd and 1 situations, Rodgers has the right to change the play if he feels, that it needs to be changed. And I don't think Rodgers quite trusts the running game yet. When it comes to it, I don't think he quite has that trust there. He's going to have to, make that trust happen because it's not been done, the 40-yard passes downfield on 3rd and 1, or the, short yardage plays in the red zone, the passing game isn't getting it done.
I agree 100%. And there was a couple plays where I shook my head, I put my hands up in the air and said, why? Why are we not just trying to move the chains here? Why did we just try that? And the thing is, you and I talked about this. We really didn't spread the field Sunday. I mean, outside of that long pass, I think that was his only completion over 20 yards. I could be wrong, and he didn't have many targets downfield. The other two I remember were 3rd and short. When I'm thinking, why don't we just move the chains? And I can't imagine. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, you finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say, I can't imagine, maybe one time we try this, but you're thinking about this, we've got the momentum, we've got a couple first downs on the drive, and now it's 3rd and 2, and now we're going to go for the gusto? Yeah. I just didn't see it in that game because we hadn't tried to stretch the field all day. They did a good job taking that deep route away, so why are we doing it? And so, again,
I don't know.
You and I don't know. Is it the play call? Is it Rodgers? But that frustrated me on Sunday. It's like, just move the damn chains so we can get 4 more downs. And if we do those things, we're going to be able to put up more points. I mean, I don't know. People might think I'm totally wrong, but I'd rather move the chains and have these 7-8 minute drives than always have, the 80-yard pass play. Because Go ahead.
I'll finish.
Well, I was going to say, when we play, as we get deeper and we get into the playoffs and we play against those offenses that can put up points, the best weapon defensively is to keep the other offense off the field. So we need to get really good at 3rd down and short, and I don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't think we are either. And, like I said, I think a lot of it's Rodgers. McCarthy, like I said, McCarthy had said that, Rodgers has the right to change the play to what he sees fit on those 3rd and 1 situations. And, he basically stopped short of saying that, Rodgers changed the play call in those particular situations. Like, I don't have a problem with going downfield with it on 3rd and short every now and then, but it seems like every time, there's one 3rd and 1 line. But the other times, it's like he kept trying to go downfield with on 3rd and 1. It's like, just get the first down, reset the chains, and move forward.
Exactly.
That's what they need to do.
Exactly. So let's switch over to the other side of the ball. I think, you and I talked about this. The biggest key to the Packers defense on Sunday was going to be to stop Reggie Bush, make him one-dimensional, which I mean Stafford one-dimensional, and we did that. And I know Calvin Johnson wasn't in the game, but even if he had been in that game, we've had good success with Johnson there because when Stafford becomes one-dimensional, he starts slinging the ball like we talked about. Now, granted, we didn't get a lot of turnovers, but we shut down the run game. We made him one-dimensional. I thought we got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But why do you think, and I'm impressed with the Packers' run D through these games, through the 4 weeks, I thought that was one of our weaknesses coming into the season, but we've really stepped up our run defense. I thought week 1, well, maybe it was the scheme, but I've seen now 4 weeks, and we're pretty darn good against the run.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with the defensive line, especially the addition of Johnny Jolly. And Dayton Jones hasn't really made any plays per se, but he's doing his job right now, and that's taking up blockers. I think with the addition of Jolly, the addition of Jones, and not using Raji as much as they used to in the past, and Ryan Pickett's, he's Ryan Pickett. He's going to do the job. I think that defensive line is what bottling everything up. Last year past 2 years they haven't had Johnny Jolly, and they just basically had C.J. Wilson, who I like the guy, but he's just another guy. They had Jarius Wynn, like the guy, but he's just another guy. But now they're having guys that can make impacts on the other side of the line of scrimmage, like Jones, like Jolly, and that frees up Raji and Pickett, and it also frees up Brad Jones, who's having a spectacular season. It's sad that he can't play Sunday, but he's doing incredible, and A.J. Hawk's doing much better against the run, and Clay Matthews is very good against the run, especially coming from the backside, and Mike Neal's solid. So I think it's just the personnel is just a slight change that they've had in personnel is what's doing it.
Yeah, I agree. And, of course, I did my time check, bud. We're at about 12 and a half. So quickly, let's talk about Clay Matthews being injured, how that's going to affect us, and then we'll get into our predictions for Sunday against the Ravens. So, you were explaining to me the injury about getting a pin put in. That's why he's out for 4 to 5 weeks. I mean, how do you think that's going to affect what we're doing defensively? You mentioned a bunch of guys, and I think these guys are starting to step up. And so hopefully we don't lose the motor. Hopefully Dayton Jones comes in and can actually, take up the blockers, but actually maybe step up now that Clay's up. What do you think?
Yeah, well, a lot of things people didn't realize with Dayton Jones is he has been dealing with a high ankle sprain, which is very tough to come back from. Sam Shields missed 4 weeks last year with a high ankle sprain. So I think he's finally getting healthy. And then the Packers are better this year than they were last year when Matthews missed time, and they went 3-1 without Matthews last year. But I think with Nick Perry here, and Perry was hurt last year, and Mike Neal missed a lot of time. I think with those two, they played the best game of their life against Detroit. They came really good off the edge. They both had sacks, and Perry forced a fumble. So I think we're better off, handling the loss of Matthews than we were last year. I think we'll be fine for a short time.
Yeah, I think so too. So we got about 1 minute left. What's your prediction Sunday?
Should be tough one. Packers 24, Ravens 17.
Packer fans are probably going to hate me, and you might even hate me too, Evan. I think we go to Baltimore. I think we play a pretty solid game, but I think Baltimore beats us 24-21. I can see
that happening.
I just think that's going to happen the way things are going, being in Baltimore, Packers on the road. I just think we don't have enough this week. I don't think we're that consistent in the red zone, and I think it's going to cost us this week. But with that said, folks, that was Packer Chat tonight. We'll see you at the next red light. Stay tuned for Twitter Talk.